Hi everyone, welcome back to the best recapped movie. The One is an action and fantasy movie produced in America in 2001, and we are sharing its summary with you today. The movie deals with parallel worlds, and Jet Li plays the role of a rogue agent who travels to parallel worlds and kills copies of himself to become a superpower. Still, he faces a challenge along the way. Spoilers ahead. At the movie's beginning, we see some police forces equipping themselves with military equipment. Sergeant Siegel and his team plan to break out a prisoner in the prison. They are going to take Lewis out of the prison. Since the prisoners hate him, they equip him with a protective cover to keep him safe from the bad intentions of his cellmates. When they are going to take him out in the parking lot, Lewis is suddenly killed by a person shooting him in the head. He did it through the ventilation ducts, so the shootout between him and the guards continues until he comes out, and it's none other than Lewis's double. He defends himself with his unique abilities, kills many of them with extraordinary speed, and escapes. His speed is so high that the police officers can't reach him even with a car, and with his skill, he causes the police cars to crash with each other. Meanwhile, the secret agents, Funch and Harry Rodecker, suspiciously follow him. Harry tells Funch that they are instructed to capture him and that he should not be killed. Their chase continues, and Lewis's double, Yola, opens a time tunnel with his watch. Funch redirects it to another location for the next 1 minute and then asks him to surrender. At this moment, Harry joins them to arrest him, and after 1 minute, all three of them are taken through a time tunnel to MBA, the monitoring center of parallel worlds. It turns out that Harry and Funch are MVA agents. While they are not in good physical condition, the superintendent arrives with a team and arrests Yola, and after taking him, Harry tells Funch that he is late in following the instructions. A trial is held for him in MBA, and the judge convicts Yola of killing copies of himself in parallel universes because by killing copies of himself, he has become a superpower that is impossible to control. To punish him, the judge sends him to a world where he can no longer travel. After that, Harry visits him before his punishment and claims he misses the person Yola used to be. Yola says he needs one more chance, but Harry says there won't be another chance for him, and his words make him angry. The day of his punishment comes, and a woman is seen entering the court after a physical inspection. They tie him to the time travel chair and set his destination to the world of Hades. The judge again accuses him of the crime of killing his examples in parallel worlds, and at the end, he asks him to defend himself for the last time. Yola explains that he only prevented himself from consuming more energy, which made him smarter, faster, and more powerful. He wanted to be one to unite his personalities.
I will be the one.
At this moment, the woman who seems to be with him takes a mouse from the back of the shoe and sends it forward. While the judge asks if he is ready for this, suddenly, the mouse with a bomb inside explodes. Yola separates himself from the chair and, after killing some agents, changes his destination in the time tunnel. Then he sits on the chair while she sends kiss to him, and finally, Yola gets his wish by traveling to his desired destination. After him, Harry and Funch enter in amazement, and Harry explains that he is arresting him in the other world because there is only one destination he can be there. Again, it is seen that a group of policemen are equipping themselves with protection equipment to take a prisoner out of the prison. Police officer Yates gives a gun to his colleague, Aldrich, and they move to the location of the prisoner. When they reach the cell, it is revealed to their disbelief that the team leader is Gabe, a copy of Yola and another personal prisoner. After entering the parking lot, they are taking him out of prison when Gabe suddenly becomes aware of his presence and saves himself from Yola's shots before he kills him. Gabe hits the air conditioning duct with the car, and Yola falls, and a fight starts, and he is forced to escape from where a large number of police forces arrive. Gabe chases after him and shoots at him, but Yola miraculously climbs the high wall of the prison and escapes. To his disbelief, Gabe also does this, but with difficulty. After crossing the barbed wires, he jumps to the other side of the prison, sees Yola there, and is shocked. Yola tells him you are not crazy, and then shoots him, but at this moment, Funch and Harry come to help and make him run away by shooting at Yola. Gabe faints, and his wife TK rushes to get ready to go to the hospital, but as soon as she opens the door, she sees him behind the door. She hugged him and said, "Aldrich called me and informed me you were injured." Gabe says that he is fine now and shows her the bullet hole on his bulletproof vest. TK insists that they must go to the hospital to make sure of his health, and Gabe agrees to go to the hospital after making love with her. A little later, it is seen that both Gabe and Yola are practicing kung fu. Finally, they go to the hospital. Gabe thanks his friends for their support, and they ask him to help them identify the suspect's identity. Gabe, who knew everything, still tells them he doesn't remember anything about him because of the darkness. After his friends leave, TK asks him to tell her if he knows anything. Gabe pulls her aside and explains that the one who targeted him was himself and that he felt it before he came. Surprised by his words, TK suggests that it could be a hallucination from the shooting. However, he tells her he doesn't want to lose his job if they find anything wrong with him. After that, Gabe prepares for the MRI, and the nurse explains the necessary safety precautions before doing it. Still, the doorknob in one of the rooms seems to be moving. Gabe opens the door and sees someone who looks like him there and thinks that he is hallucinating again. That's why he asks TK to go to his friends and get him his gun before the MRI. She agrees, and the nurse asks him to remove their wedding ring. After this, Gabe gives her his necklace, which complements TK's necklace, and then they hug each other. His MRI starts, and TK goes to his colleagues to raise the issue of getting a gun. Still, she regrets it, and on the other hand, Yola enters the MRI center to kill Gabe and threatens the person in charge. At this moment, Funch and Harry arrive and ask him to surrender, but this does not happen, and the shooting starts. Inside the MRI machine, Gabe is shocked to hear the gunshots and leaves before Yola can kill him. Hearing the gunshots, Aldrich and the rest of the police forces go to the camera control room, and on the other hand, they fight each other. Still, Yola's gun is absorbed by the MRI machine. Funch and Harry again ask him to surrender, and Yola says, "If you kill me, you have to kill the other." The police enter the room, and Yola uses this opportunity to get his gun and, after killing the policeman, runs away from the room. The police think he is Gabe through the camera and order to arrest him. Gabe also changes his clothes and leaves without anyone seeing him. His friends see him, mistake him for the events related to Yola, and ask him to surrender. A fight begins between them, and Gabe says that he does not intend to harm them and handcuffs them all without harming them, and then he is forced to run away from the hospital. Before running away, he asks his wife to believe him, and TK also asks him to take shelter home. Harry and Funch work separately. Funch is responsible for finding Gabe, and Harry is responsible for catching Yola. Using an alarm weapon, Harry explains to Funch that Yola is not dead yet if the light is green, otherwise, if it is red, then he is dead. Then, in the end, he advises him to make decisions with his heart and not his brain in carrying out the mission, and the two separate. Later, Yola manages to escape from the hospital by hiding in the bag of the dead, and Gabe sneaks into an ambulance. At the same time, Funch sees him and chases him. Talking to Aldrich, TK explains that she has to go home and insists on returning alone, but he refuses and says that the police should escort her home. Harry throws Yola into a van in any way possible and asks him to surrender. After talking for a while, Harry says that after killing Gabe, he may explode from too much power or be destroyed from the inside. Still, Yola explains the third possibility, that he becomes a god after becoming one. Then, he makes an accident with high speed, and a fight between Harry and him occurs. On the other hand, Funch chases Gabe after getting out of the ambulance at the entrance of a building. He notices the presence of Funch and asks him to tell the truth by forcing him. He tells him everything about Yola and the parallel worlds, and explains that he was an MVA agent like him until 2 years ago. After one of his copies was killed, his power increased and he decided to destroy all his copies. At the same time, Gabe knows that his powers have increased in the last 2 years, and Funch informs him that he is the last version of him, and Yola tries to kill him to become a superpower. The conflict between Harry and Yola is going on, and Harry cannot fight with him, so Yola seriously injures him. At the same time, he wants to use that explosive bomb, and suddenly, at the last moment, Yola kills him and doesn't give this permission to he does. He takes the device in Harry's watch, and by neutralizing the bomb, its red light turns on, and Funch mistakenly thinks that Yola has been killed. For this reason, he decides to kill Gabe because he thinks that he is the only one left and that he is a superpower. Still, he remembers Harry's words and decides with his heart to refrain from killing him. TK enters the house with Aldrich and his team. After checking the house, they find that there is no sign of Gabe, but a little later, TK asks him to be alone in his room, and after entering the room, she checks the hiding place in the ceiling. She sees Gabe there, and after a little talk, he asks her to give him a gun. After taking the gun and loading it, she accidentally sees someone similar to her husband through the window and suspects him. So she challenges him by asking a question about their past personal life, realizes that he is not Gabe, and calls Aldrich. Yola immediately takes the gun from her and, after killing Aldrich, takes TK to the window and kills her in front of his eyes. Yates and the other cops come from behind and ask him to surrender, but he jumps out and runs away. Gabe, who is mistakenly shot by the police outside, has no choice but to run away. Fortunately, Funch arrives, takes him in the car, and they run away. A little later, at a gas station, Gabe, who is very sad that TK was killed, wants revenge on Yola, and Funch asks him to help him capture Yola so that they can return him to the pit, but Gabe decides to kill him. Funch doesn't think it's possible, and Gabe knocks down an iron beam to show his abilities. The owner of this hyper in the parallel world is a copy of Harry, who gets angry and threatens to call the police. Funch, who found out that Harry is dead, says that he didn't have a chance to thank him for making him square, so he says thank you, sir.
So thank you, sir.
Through that device, they arrive at a pipe installation location where Yola is so that they are less than 10 minutes away from her. A little later, they realize he is above them, and Funch shoots at him. Suddenly, he throws the bomb he stole from Harry towards them, and Funch asks Gabe to take shelter and not breathe for 20 seconds. After the explosion, Funch calls Gabe, but there is no trace of him, so he comes out of the shelter and is attacked by Yola a little later. Their fight continues, but Funch doesn't have the strength to fight him, and Yola throws him down the stairs after beating him. At the same time, Gabe tells Yola that he has come for him, and they both prepare for a full-scale fight. Yola takes off his jacket and ties it around High's waist, and Gabe attacks him. A fight begins between them, and both have high abilities, but in the end, Yola overpowers him and stops him with a heavy blow. He thinks that he killed him, but it is not so, and Gabe stands up more determined and calls him to fight again. Surprisingly, this time, he overcomes Yola's powers and torments him several times with heavy blows. On the other hand, Funch prepares the trip to MBA with his advanced device for 3 minutes later. While there are only 30 seconds left before the start of their time travel, Gabe stops Yola. Still, as a result of this fight, there is a disturbance in the installation system. An explosion occurs, which causes Gabe's clothes to catch fire. He disrobes to save himself, and while there is no physical difference between him and Yola, the three of them are taken through the time tunnel to the MBA base. When the supervisor and his team want to arrest him, one of them claims that he is Yola, and the supervisor prepares him to be sent to the world of Hades based on his words. Funch, who is completely confused in recognizing them and is very complicated by their immense similarity, suddenly realizes through the Gabe's wedding ring trace on his finger that he has been mistakenly placed in the chair of time and immediately informs them that the one who is on Earth is Yola. They immediately replace him with Yola and send him to the world of Hades to stay there forever. After he leaves, the supervisor explains to Funch that Gabe must return to his world for balance. Still, Funch disagrees and says that he will be imprisoned forever if he goes back there. Therefore, he informs him that he will send him to a place where he belongs, and by entering the coordinates, he prepares the ground for his journey, and after saying goodbye to him, Gabe enters a world. He sees their dog on the street and then enters a pet shop to deliver him. Suddenly, he sees that the person in charge is none other than TK. He is shocked, and it seems she does not know him, but her face is familiar, and Gabe is happy with this question. Yola also wakes up in the world of Hades and sees people there who insult him, but because of arrogance and pride, he claims to be powerful there. The people there are disgusted by his words and attack him, and while the fight between them is formed, Yola can still defeat many of them, and then the movie ends. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.